Hey guys, welcome to another edition of Hacks, Hints, Tips, and Tricks. This is the That's Not for Painting edition. So I want to go through some stuff that could maybe make your life easier or, let you look at stuff a little differently than you might have otherwise. These are some of the things that I use, I guess, when I'm painting or to help facilitate painting that you might not consider. So first up is this dop kit. I actually found this one at Aldi. It's a pretty decent size. Ooh, let me get that open. It's got the wireframe in it, so it will stand up. You've got some side pockets. You've got plenty of space in here. This is a 48 half pan palette, so good size. That's not a problem. This is the 30 set of the Caran d'Ache Neo colors. Also fits. It will fit different size journals. My Kilimanjaro, I'm still so sad that they're no more. You can see that fits. These are, I think, A4 and A5. Sorry, British sizes, I don't. And then it just folds back down. Like I said, you've got lots of pockets on the sides, so you can keep stuff separate. But the big thing that caught me on this one, and actually the reason I ended up grabbing it, is because it has a separate section in the bottom. Let me get everything situated here. And you've got your you've got a spot for brushes. And so that is actually what caught my attention initially, that you would have a spot for brushes and they would be secure and not moving around. You could also put your other stuff in here. This obviously fits. It's a pretty deep little spot in the bottom. I'd say a good 2 inches deep. So you can fit all that stuff in there. So I liked that. This is probably what I'm going to be using. I'm hoping to get into some like urban sketching and stuff. So this is probably what I'm going to be using for that. And now that we're talking about storing brushes and moving them around, I have two things for you that you might find helpful. So as I have mentioned previously, I'm about to pack up. We are headed towards our next contract, and so we are going to be moving several hundred miles away from where we currently are. And one of my big things when I'm packing up art supplies is, what do I do with my brushes? So I have two things for you. The first, let me grab one of these, are these little mesh covers. These are actually made for makeup brushes, I believe, but they just slip right on and pull right off. And then your bristles are protected. You can get some different sizes of them. So I got two sizes in my pack. As you can see, this is a much bigger brush, but it slips on and off quite easily. And then you're protected. Now, if you, like on some of these, I've noticed if you keep pulling backwards, you are going to bend some bristles back. But for the most part, it's pretty easy peasy if you're not doing something like tossing them in your backpack. This is I feel like a good way to protect those. This is a slightly smaller size. It's also a little stiffer. So if you've got smaller brushes, this came in a pack of both of these. I ended up sticking mine in a little Ziploc bag so they didn't go everywhere. But you got both sizes in here. So yes, I have a lot of brushes. So those are really nifty. I'm really happy I found these. Yeah, so that's actually what I'm going to be moving for the most part this next move. My other thing, so these the mesh things actually do work on these fan brushes, but of course it's going to pull them in because my brushes could sit for a couple of weeks like that. I didn't want my fan brushes to get ruined or get stuck like that. So shoot, I thought I had, what did I do with it? I had the box. There it is. So I decided on these. I had a box here that I had paint come in. Just happened to have it sitting around. So I just cut it, poked a hole in it, and now I can pull it up and tape it. And now my fan brushes are actually protected. And it even worked for my little fan brush. So I did end up with 2 of the bigger fan brushes, one I had bought, and then one I got as a set when I got my Rosemary and Company brushes. So, yeah. So that's how I'm going to transport my fan brushes. So I just closed the top, and then I went ahead and put a little bit of tape on the bottom just to keep the cardboard from moving around. So we've got that. And then, I don't know if you guys know this. If you have old gift cards, or this is, I think, an old insurance card, gift cards, these are actually super cool and useful for making lines and some other stuff. So I use them here to make a lot of the marks on the trees. You can get different size marks depending on how you do this. So you just take the edge of the card. As you see, I cut this one down specifically so I could fit it into a palette and run it through, and then just slide across on your sheet. And you can get some really cool effects like that. They're not always going to be the same because your paper texture and the way it picks up paint, this edge is not going to give you the same mark as this edge. So that's a cool thing to use. And I also used it here on this when I did my clips here. So again, kind of something to have on hand. And it could be a useful tool for you. All right, let's get this stuff out of the way. And then I've also taken to using some of these Swedish dishcloths in place of like paper towels or wash rags in a lot of cases. So they're decent size. They hold an insane amount of water. I cut this one in half so it would fit a little better. Once they get wet, they will kind of give you a funny shape. You can throw these in the washer and not have to worry about them. The only downside I will say to these is when they're dry, if you bend them, they will tear. But they hold so much water compared to a wash rag or a paper towel or anything like that. So I really like these. Let's see what else. So if you need a water bowl or something to put water in, especially if you don't want something breakable or that kind of thing, I recommend these dog bowls. So these are just little travel dog bowls. They're small, fold up pretty flat. They're easy to come by, and they're usually pretty cheap. So a lot of times those little collapsible water bowls, they're not very big. They don't hold a whole lot of water, which may be fine for you, but sometimes they're just kind of stupid expensive for no reason. This is a bigger bowl that is set up the same way. So I have these because obviously I have dogs. So when we travel, I like to keep these handy for water breaks. But, the fact that they fold down and they're easily out of the way and they would easily fit in a kit, something to consider if you want maybe a little bigger water supply there. I tend to rinse my brush a lot. When I mix, I don't like dipping a dirty brush into a new color. I don't like the cross-contamination. To me, it just ends up with muddy colors, and I don't care for it. So I don't do that. I also keep glass droppers. I used to always use these little plastic pipettes, and I still use these, but if you've got colors, especially that are super staining, these glass ones are nice. Because you can wash them, and the set I got actually came with a brush that you can clean it with, and I use these for a lot of things. in the case of the glass ones, I tend to use them. Ooh, let's see if I can not drop this everywhere. So if I've got a color that I need to move to a different spot, I will wet it down, mix it up with my brush, and then pull it up in my pipette and put it into the new spot. So if I'm cleaning out a palette or I want to reset a palette or something like that, that's typically how I do that. It's a lot easier to me to do it that way. And I have swapped palettes around several times doing that, and it's worked really well. And the fact that you can clean them and you're not throwing them away definitely appeals to me. I'm not as, I guess, conscious as some, but I try to be. So, stuff like this that you can reuse and clean. These plastic pipettes, the end is too small, so I can't even get that brush in there that was meant for this. And that's the downside, because once they stain, if you try to move your colors, then you may get some residual color in there. I also have, and this is going to be, I guess, oddly specific. If you have beam paints, it is hard sometimes to find a way to store them. I wanted them in a tin, but I didn't like them moving around once I got them set up. In the end, I actually just used a little bit of sticky tack. But before that, I actually have a ice cube tray in this hex shape, and then your paints actually just fit right down in there. Once you get the lid on this, the tray itself is actually pretty solid. Stays pretty stiff, pretty flat. And then you've got a good spot for your beam paints, and it's not plastic. I mean, I kind of feel like if you're liking Beam, you're probably also digging on the fact that they don't use any plastic. Let me get that in there. And then it stays pretty flat. Grass. Like that. So, and I don't know that there's any reason that you couldn't use this just as a travel palette. You know, it's silicone. You could put your paint in there and go from there. I have not tried that, but if you try that, let me know. Let me know if that works. Obviously, you wouldn't put something in there that's going to run a lot because you're not sealed completely at the top. But it would definitely be something to consider. And like I said, with Beam, because they've got that shape and stuff, I feel like it's kind of hard to find something to put them in and keep them from moving around a lot. So that's how I do mine. And then let's see, I'm going to have to zoom out for the next one. Let me move some stuff here. So you guys actually just saw this, but I didn't really talk about it. So for my swatch cards, you guys don't need to see the whole thing. I'm not gonna zoom out. So for my swatch cards, I actually use a baseball card holder. So I cut mine, I think they're 2.5 by 3 if I remember correctly. I usually cut a whole stack of them like this and then keep them handy, so if I end up with new paints, I have some handy. I don't have to cut them. And that's actually how I use that paper that I don't particularly like. Right now it's the Stonehenge paper that I despise. So this is nice because they're double-sided. I don't use it that way because I like being able to see my information on the back, but God forbid, if I end up with that many paints, I could definitely do that because you've got a pocket on both sides. So that's nice. Lots of storage. You've got lots of sheets. These sheets are readily available. Not hard to find at all. Neither is the folio itself. So I'm a big fan of, easy and easy to find. So I use this to hold all my swatch cards, that kind of thing. I use just a label maker and some clear tape to kind of make tabs, but you can get, I'm sure, sheets with tabs on them if you really want to do that. So, and then it also gave me the opportunity to kind of split these up as I wanted. You know, I really wanted to separate my pinks from my reds, for instance, and my violets from my purples, that kind of thing. And that helped me do it. It helps me visualize. I tend to be a very visual person. I think that in part comes from the ADHD. So, all right. And for this last one, or last couple, I am actually going to pause you for a moment because I am going to have to hold the camera, and that's not going to be fun. So stand by. All right. I will apologize for the shaky camera work, but I wanted to show this. This is what I am using currently as a brush holder. This is our Lord and Savior, Patrick Stump. He watches over me. If you don't know who that is, I'm so sorry for you. Anyway, so this came from Michael's. I think I got a coupon with it, so it cost me like 10, 11 bucks. And this is actually a crochet hook holder. So I have different sized brushes. Like I said, this was not expensive. I have got different size holes here. They get bigger as they go. The last two over here, I'll show you. So I had to re-drill them because they weren't quite big enough. I did not do it very prettily, but I'd made it so I could get some more in here and have those extra couple spots. So as you can see, it holds a pretty large number of brushes. I'm overall pretty happy with this. I gotta say, I had seen it, I had eyeballed it, and then didn't grab it, and I'm really glad I did. I don't like all my brushes in cups. I don't like all my brushes smushed together because it's hard for me to see them. I end up not being able to find what I want to find. So there's that. Let me grab the last thing. We've got one heathen, two heathens, and I think the other one's on the dog bed. These are my noisemakers. All right, so the last thing I want to talk about is this. It is a toolbox that you can stack together. The base unit is on rollers. This is what I'm using for my art supplies and specifically my paint. So you guys know I have a lot of paint. This is not ideal if I were not traveling because I do prefer to have them on the wall so I can visualize them and see them. But for the travel thing, it's actually pretty awesome. So I store all my paint in here. Gotta hold on to it because it's heavy. It's got the dividers in it. I can set them up however I want as far as colors go. And be able to just, like I said, separate them however I feel I want to. And then this was actually kind of an add-on to the whole unit. So let me swing over here. This is actually the whole unit. This one came from Walmart. There's all kinds of different ones depending on where you live, different brands. And they all stack together and then lock together. So they end up moving as one whole unit. This has been awesome for me. The two bottom ones are more big open. This top one has a bunch of different little organization in it. And then my paints actually fit on top. So like I said, normally this would not be a great solution for me because I do like to see what I have and have handy. But for the travel scenario that we are currently in, this has actually worked really well for me. All right, and there you have it. Some more ideas that maybe weren't exactly made for painting, but do come in handy and are helpful. So hopefully some of those gave you some ideas, helped you out. If so, by all means, let me know. If you've got something that you think's a really good, that's not made for painting tip, then by all means, please let us know in the comments. I feel like the art community should be all about sharing and learning together. So let's make that happen because gatekeeping, not cool. All right, so go out there, guys. Have a good day. Go paint something.